All right, welcome to the brainstorming part of the informative assessment for English 1. Once again, I want to remind you of your prompt or the question you will be answering with your essay, and that is, how is an individual's sense of identity formed? So, the example that I give you here is parents, right? So this is a way that an individual's sense of identity is formed, some kind of outside influence on an individual or a character that you read about, perhaps, how their identity is shaped by the external forces around them. So let's think of parents / family. We can see that in Fish Cheeks, right? By Amy Tan. Her family taught her a lesson, right? They taught her not to be ashamed of her heritage with serving the Chinese food. Even though Tan was embarrassed by it, her family still taught her to be proud of her, where she came from. So let's see here. Another idea we might have is your name. Sometimes your name can have an influence on your identity, right? We see that in Romeo and Juliet quite a bit. This is kind of the premise of the entire story, right? If they weren't Montagues and Capulets, it would have been a totally different outcome. But because they are part of warring families, they are then star-crossed, right? Another thing that we might look at that helps shape our identity, an external force that helps mold us into who we are, is location. We see that kind of all around us. How might location shape us where we are now? As I'm recording this, I'm looking outside and I'm seeing that it's snowing really, really hard. Someone in Florida might see the sunshine. Who's more likely to spend time outside? Well, that's tough to say. It depends on whether you like winter sports or the beach, though no one should go outside right now because of coronavirus. But anyway, that can shape your identity. Because I grew up in the snow, I learned to like winter sports. So I'm more likely to go outside here, right? If you're in Florida, they probably learned that they should like the beach. If I'm in Florida, I'm not going to go to the beach. Water scares me. If the Floridans come here, they probably aren't going to go skiing. It's cold, right? So let's think about this in terms of what we've read. We definitely see it with the Odyssey, right? Because Odysseus, say he grew up in a place that didn't have all those monsters. He would have never had the challenges, and then he wouldn't have been the great hero that we know him as. What else might we have here? How about society? We can see this a lot in our dystopian novels. We saw that with the Hunger Games, society shaping who the characters were. Katniss grew up in District 12. That really molded who she was as a person. We see that with Harrison Bergeron, definitely. With all of the handicaps that everyone has to wear and how Harrison rebels against that and ultimately gets killed because of it. We also see that in Fish Cheeks with Amy Tan again. She was embarrassed of who she was. She wanted to be, quote unquote, more white. And that was part of societal expectations placed upon her. You can see that in almost every book that we've read, is society helps shape who the characters are as a person, right? Let's look at another one here. Environment. Let's see, I always spell environment wrong. There we go. We can see this in our dystopian novels quite a bit, right? We saw it with Wall-E as we watched that little clip. The environment around them was all industrial and all screen-based, and The people were allowed to be as lazy as they wanted to and had never had to go outside and get exercise. They just got floated around on their little chairs, right? So that's the environment around them. Or we also saw a lot of pollution in some of our choice dystopian books. That affects who the characters are. Let's try another one here. How about jobs? That is something we definitely see with Fahrenheit 451, right? Would the book have been different if Montag wasn't a fireman? Let me see if I can spell that right there. Sorry, it's right on the dotted line. I hope you guys can see it. There we go. Montag as a fireman. That definitely shaped his identity throughout the story. We also saw his friends shape his identity. Wow. Friends. There we go. With Montag. We saw both the professor's influence on him and Clarice's influence on him, right? Yeah, we'll leave that. It's quick. Anyway, he may have just been a fireman forever until he died if he didn't meet these people. But instead, he met these people who had a great influence on who he was as a person, and that ended up helping him make the decision to rebel. So, as we can see, there are a lot of outside influences that help shape us as humans, who help shape characters as humans, and we need to start exploring those more. This is by no means an exhaustive list of things that can shape an individual identity, right? So you don't have to limit yourself to these few choices that I gave you. This is just a few examples to help get your brain working. So what you'll need to do is either take a look at the examples I've provided you or come up with more. Then you will figure out which book or character that has an influence on, and then find evidence of that. So evidence, once again, is a quote or a paraphrase from the story that displays that characteristic, right? So, with all of the books and short stories that we've read, I've had you take notes of quotes, important quotes, and that's what I'm hoping you will reference as you go through this. You should have quotes that help display some of these characteristics. In the next video, we're going to start looking at how to work those into a proper thesis, and then move those into full paragraphs to be able to really discuss what it means to the character to have these influences on them.